Hello, everyone, and welcome to our virtual panel with Devin Tramp. I'm today's host. My name is Morgan Progrocki, and I'm one of the Senior Strategic Development Managers here at Adobe. I work with a lot of our film and television customers, and I'm so excited to welcome today's guest, Devin Graham, filmmaker and social video extraordinaire. Thanks so much for joining us, Devin. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me, and thanks for joining. I see where everyone's popping up. I saw someone from Iceland, so it's just so cool seeing the world get together for this. So thank you guys for joining.
Amazing. All right, so just before we dive in, I do want to call out a couple quick things. This session is being recorded. You'll get the link after this session to watch back later on demand. You can refer back to that content at another time. We also want this experience to be super interactive. So if you have questions for Devin, please feel free to drop those in the Q&A pod, and we'll make sure to prioritize those at the end of today's session. So enough of that, let's get right into it. Devin, maybe for some of the listeners that aren't as familiar with some of your work, what is your background in video production and how did you get started?
Yeah, so I've been doing film ever since I can remember. It was always a passion. I was doing it with my friends, with my siblings, making music videos, stop motion Lego movies. So it's always been something I was kind of driven towards. And then once I hit college age, I went to college, I went to film school. And then my last year, my roommate, Jeff Harmon, he's like, Devin, YouTube, social media is going to be the next big thing. You should jump on that bandwagon. So I was like, I want to make real movies on Hollywood big screens. And he's like, no, I think you should give it a chance to see where it goes. So I was like, all right. And I did a video. It was a bike jump into a pond. We put it out on YouTube. And it ended up getting 10, 15 million views later. And all these huge opportunities happened. So I use social media, especially YouTube, essentially creating things I'm passionate or excited about. And then it creates bigger opportunities working with big brands and other opportunities traveling the world.
Awesome. Well, so what kind of videos are you working on right now? I know you just mentioned you're working with a lot of different brands. And where do they typically end up on social? I know you've got a pretty big YouTube presence, but are there any other platforms that you put out content to as well?
Yep, so we do a lot of different things. Essentially, the way I look at it is I create things I'm really excited about, put it on YouTube, and it creates bigger opportunities. So a good example of that we just had recently is I'm a big Jurassic Park fan. Like, that's what made me want to make movies. So 5 years ago, I did a big Jurassic Park fan film. And I mean, we're talking low budget filmmaking. I spent a couple $100. We got like a big blow up T-Rex costume. We put that on YouTube, and then Universal Studios saw that, and we're like, Devin, we want to hire you to promote our new movie, Fallen Kingdom. Then they hired us to do a promotional thing for Dominion, their latest movie. We got to work with people like Bryce Dallas Howard, like a lot of the big actors from the film. So for that one, it was using like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, social media to launch that. But we got to work directly with Universal Studios. We got to shoot part of that like on the back lot. And then like one we just did recently, YouTube had this big, huge event where they came to us and said, hey, Devin, we love your video games in real life. So we want to hire you to create any video game in real life that you like to do. So for me, I wanted to film on a spaceship. So they gave us the budget to do a big Among Us, the video game in real life. We filmed that in LA on a spaceship. And then they had a big live event where they premiered that. And then we put it on our channel kind of after it had got released publicly on the YouTube channel. So there's definitely a lot of different avenues where we create content. We've done stuff for the Super Bowl. We had the big promo video that premiered right at the start of the Super Bowl 5 or 6 years ago. So that was like another big opportunity. And that was like through television. So even though I use YouTube and social media, it creates bigger opportunities on a lot of other platforms.
That's incredible. So in the 30 seconds you just responded to that, you called out Jurassic Park, we called out video games. I mean, how much content are you creating through all of these deliverables? What does that scale look like for you today?
Yeah, so generally, I mean, when I first started, we're dealing with much smaller budget, so we could pull out things a lot quicker. We were doing roughly a video a week. Now our projects are much bigger scale, and we're usually putting out one video a month. With that said, now that COVID's kind of settled down, we're busier than we've ever been. Like, I truly mean that. So we're putting out a video almost every week. Like all next month, this month, I guess September, we'll be putting out a video every week of like big scale projects that took like several months to make happen. So it is a case by case, but I mean, consistent content means a consistent audience. So we always try and put out as much consistent content as we can. And obviously that doesn't always work out, but that's always the goal.
Well, so with all of these projects coming in rapid fire, how do you schedule this out? Do you have a really regimented schedule for the entire year? Are you managing all of these projects at one time? I would imagine with the scale of some of these projects you are, but how does that work within your team?
Uh, Google Calendars is like crucial for us to like somewhat stay organized, even though we're not truly organized. But we're generally working on 5 or 6 projects at a time. A good example is 2 months ago, we got hired by Lord of the Rings, the mobile app game, a State of the Survival, another big mobile app game, another mobile app game called King of Avalon, and Jurassic World, and they all had to be shot within like a 2.5 week window. So we spent 2.5 weeks filming nonstop. And then once we got done, we spent like a month and a half editing all those projects nonstop. And now that's why we're already starting to put them out. Some of them have already been released, like the Jurassic Park one, but the other ones are getting released this coming month. So usually we'll like heavy production, just filming constantly. And then we take like a month of just working, editing, the VFX, the sound, the music, like all those pieces come together kind of the following month. But usually we're shooting a project, editing a project, and just kind of going back and forth, piggybacking.
Yeah, what is life without balance, right? You got production and you got post. So tell me about the team you have now. I would imagine that a lot of the scale of these productions require a pretty significant backbone of team. For a
Yep.
typical project, how many folks are involved? What sort of roles do you have within your team? How does that function?
Yeah, so our core team now, I mean, before COVID, we were much bigger. Now we just got a one-man guy, another guy on our team. He's over there. He's kind of hiding behind that desk right now. But so that's just our core team. But then every project we do, we hire a lot more people. So the one we just filmed in LA, the Among Us one, we had a bigger budget. So we hired around 40 people for that one. The week before that one, we had it's actually, I'm going to show you guys a little bit later. We had about a 15-person crew because I didn't need bigger than that. And then the month before that, we were hiring like zombies, orcs, each day we had between 50 and 60 people on set. So we kind of do it case by case. I prefer smaller crews, but when you got to hire 30 zombies, 40 zombies, then that obviously shifts and changes. So it's definitely a case by case. And one week we're hardly working with anyone, and then the next week we're working with so many people we can't keep track of it. But that's why I outsource, like, hey, we're going to hire another team, another producer to kind of oversee all these missing pieces, and a different producer for a different project. That way we can keep it somewhat organized.
Well, so with this year-round cycle of content, how I know that you had mentioned that you kind of go through these cycles of we're going to focus on production, now we're going to be in post. We have all of these various teams ranging from 40 to 60 people for some days. So how, aside from Google Calendar, how do you set yourself up for high quality content that you can share all year round? Do you have this giant whiteboard of ideas of projects you want to do at the start of the year, and then you just slowly chip away at it? Or how do you come up with some of these plans?
Yeah, so I always start off with passion projects, is what I call them. So they're the projects that I generally am going to do, regardless if I have someone paying for it or not. And then once that's all that I'm focused on at the beginning of the year when I have no projects. And then all of a sudden the paid projects start coming in. So then sadly the passion projects get pushed to the side. So we actually have a whiteboard over there. And if you look at it, I have all these passion projects. We've hardly touched any of those this year because we got so busy with paid projects, and we're grateful for that. But now things are finally starting to slow down like a month and a half from now. So we're already like getting those other projects in motion. So even though we're not shooting these passion projects yet, I'm still like reaching out to costume designers and other people saying, hey, can you start prepping for this? Because as soon as this project's done, this paid one, I'm gonna jump on this passion project. So we always have something on the horizon, even if it's not a paid project.
Great, I love that. So one of the hallmarks of your content is that you've got these really great storytelling elements. So I'm curious, what are some of your secret ingredients that you always include in your edit? Is it, the rhythm and pacing? Is it how you design the sound? What are some of your special tips and tricks?
I think for me, it's just getting the right people for the project. So like I find people that are also passionate about it. So like the Sonic the Hedgehog video we showed at the very beginning, like I grew up playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2, like old school Sega Genesis. So it's like I could do something more modern, but it's like I want to keep something that I'm passionate about, and I love that game. So I wanted to feel like a 2D sprite because there was a lot of like 2D visuals in that one. So I'll reach out to my VFX friends. I'll reach out to my music composer who also is a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan. So they're also putting their heart into it. But for me, whenever I can, I try and get people that are just as passionate as I am in their field. So like even the people that were part of those videos, like they're big Sonic the Hedgehog fans. So it just really worked out really nice. But for me, like part of the secret is just finding passionate people, because if you have passionate people, they're going to put all their energy into that. And then they're going to like, oh, Devin, actually, what if we did this? and then it's going to play out a lot better. So it's just finding the right people and then trusting them to do the best they can with their abilities.
I love that. So I know we're talking a lot about volume and scale. I'd be interested to hear what your philosophy and process is for when you're trying to post to multiple different platforms. You know, you've been making content for a very long time now at this point. Have you had to rethink reaching some of those new audiences with the different aspect ratios of all these various platforms that are now available today?
Yeah, so I'm more of an old school filmmaker where I like everything like 16:9 or letterbox. So when everything started going like opposite of that, I felt like I was like breaking my standards and my morals. And one of my like social media guru friends, he's like, Devin, if you don't play the game, you're not going to stay in the game. So I was like, but I don't want to play the game. But he was like, if you don't, you're going to get left behind. So we took those 16:9 videos, then we started making them square and vertical, and we started putting them on Facebook. And I will say this, like once we started doing that, we saw a 4x increase in views, like instantly. Just for making it square and vertical, which that like breaks my heart because I was like, I'm losing the integrity of the piece, but it's getting exposure. And at the end of the day, for us, it's about exposure. So we've definitely seen it where different platforms, we have to treat them differently. So I still can't wrap my mind around TikTok, but as far as like Instagram, usually we are going square or vertical with a lot of the stuff that we're posting. With YouTube now, because people are just getting shorter and shorter attention spans, I used to start off our videos just kind of slowly building up, but now if you go to our channel, most of the videos we do, it has like a 6-7 second teaser that kind of essentially shows all the coolest clips right at the beginning just to let people know, okay, this is what to expect. So we definitely treat each platform differently just to stay in the game and to play the game.
So I'm curious, with all of the brand work that you're doing as well, has that also become an expectation from the brands that you're working with, delivering to multiple different platforms as well, or are you given a lot more flexibility in that regard?
Yeah, so when we signed a contract with 90% of these people, they're expecting one post on YouTube, one post on our behind the scenes channel, 2 posts on Instagram, 1 post on TikTok. So it's definitely across all our social media platforms. But that's why we're able to negotiate usually bigger wages, is because we have all these different platforms. So it just increases that as well. So it gives us more money to spend on costumes and props and visual effects and all that stuff.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So shifting gears a little bit over to the actual more technical details of your post-production workflow. For those that might not be familiar, what is your end-to-end workflow from, you know, an ideation and creative brief perspective all the way through how you're collaborating with your teams and how you finally ultimately get to a final delivery?
Yeah, so, and I'm going to actually be showing this a little bit later, but usually how it works out is a brand will see one of our older videos on our YouTube channel or newer ones, whatever. And in the bottom of our description, it says for business inquiries, contact us here. So we'll get an email from someone that said, hey, we love this video. Could you do that for our brand? And I've seen this from the very beginning, like 10 years ago when I started doing this, we had people like Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Red Bull. They were all reaching out through this. They see a YouTube video, say, hey, Devin, we love this. Can you do it like that, but with our brand? So recently we just did a big one. We haven't released it yet, but it's for a big mobile app game called Genshin Impact. It's also on other platforms as well. And they were like, Devin, we love your videos. We want to hire you to recreate it in your own style, but in real life. How would you like to do that? So then I send them like essentially like a pitch, and we're not talking like a long, multiple bullet points all over the place. It's usually just a little paragraph and say, this is how I would do it. And then they're like, okay, that's good, but could you also have like these 3 characters featured? And I was like, I don't know if those characters would be good in real life, so let's change it and have these characters. Then we go back and forth. They're like, we don't want those characters, but I want those characters. So it is this happy medium ground where we both don't get exactly what we want, but we kind of find that happy medium. And then we go out and create it. But usually just to prepare for that shoot, the one I'll show you guys a little bit later, is that's usually about a month to 2 months of talking back and forth every other day through email and through phone conversations. And they're also based in China as well, the company. So we also have like translators and other people that are kind of going back and forth right now. And then once we get like the green light, then it's like we essentially have 2 or 3 weeks to prep costumes, props, like this big billboard you see back here. That was a prop for the video I'll be showing you guys a little bit later, where we had that made. It's half made out of styrofoam, but like that had to come together in like 3 days after things were approved. So it's definitely like once things are greenlit, we're just running as fast as we can. I kind of give everyone a heads up, like VFXK, prepare for this ahead of time because we're going to have a quick turnaround on it.
I'd be interested. You've worked with so many different brands over the years. What is that level of creative control you have? I'm sure, some projects are a little bit easier and more straightforward than others, but it sounds like you've been given a lot of carte blanche to make some of these creative decisions in the right way. Is that a pretty consistent theme throughout all of the brand work that you're doing?
Yeah, I think the best thing we've done is it's going on our channel 90% of the time. So they're trusting us that we know our audience. So there's always like bullet points we need to hit within that video, but it's like, Devin, we trust you because it's going on your channel. We're also going to post it on some of our channels as well, but the main distribution is going on your channel. So you know your audience. We're going to trust you with that audience. So show us what you can do. But I also like them a part of that conversation because if like something doesn't go right, which sometimes it happens, I want them to also be a part of like agreeing with how they want it because I want to work with them again. And I'd say 90–80% of the people we work with are reoccurring customers. So I want to make them happy, but I also want to make my audience happy too. So it's just fun balancing act.
That's how you build a global brand, I suppose. And it's okay if you don't want to answer this one, but I'm personally interested. Is there one video that is like the most popular video that a lot of brands see and say, yes, I want you to produce content for us? Is there like a most popular video that
Yeah.
alerts brands to some of the work you guys do?
I would say one of our, I mean, it usually goes to views. Like whatever video has the most views usually brings in the biggest opportunity. So especially the early days, one of our most watched videos, I want to say it's around like 85 million views on YouTube. Assassin's Creed meets parkour in real life. And that one blew up, and we've gotten so many video games in real life videos we've made because other brands saw that. And especially a lot of parkour videos, they'll see that one like, we want to hire you to do this. So I'd say those ones have definitely created a lot of opportunities. Anytime we recreate something in real life based on another franchise, it usually creates another opportunity from that.
Makes sense. I'd be interested to know what your production schedule looks like. I know that you've been using some really high-end cameras over the years. What is your whole physical production schedule look like? How do you plan out your shot lists? What cameras are you using? I'm sure it's a mixture of a bunch of different technology depending on the project, but in general, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I started borrowing people's cameras, like, because I was like a poor college student. So starting off my whole social media career on YouTube, I was borrowing my friends' cameras. It was a Canon T2i and a Canon 5D Mark II. And after I started shooting, then I was like, okay, now I'm going to buy my own. And then I slowly upgraded from that. And then I ended up buying like a Phantom Miro camera that shoots 1,000 frames per second. Then currently we own, I want to say 5 Red cameras, a Monstro, a Raptor, Helium. So we're filming everything in 8K now, which I know is overkill for YouTube, but we're doing everything future-proof. We also are using GoPros. One of the newest videos we just shot, we're also using the Cinema 4D, the DJI system, just because it has the stabilizer that you can go really low to the ground. So it's definitely case by case, but generally speaking, I'm trying to film as high quality as possible because what a lot of people don't know is like, we'll have our content, we own our content, and then we'll also license that content out to other people. Like we'll have people like Samsung reach out to us and say, hey, Devin, we love this video. We'd love to buy the license if you happen to have it in 8K. Then I'm able to license that footage. So it's created a lot of opportunities just by filming in really high resolution as well.
I bet. And for what it's worth, I believe YouTube supports 8K anyway, but
Yes.
that future-proof nature of production is always in your best interest, I would agree. So you mentioned it's opened up some opportunities around stock as well. Tell me about that, because I know that there are some instances where, if you've got B-roll that you're not using for a particular project, what do you do with that?
Well, funny you should ask. So yeah, because we shoot a lot of content. So we'll have, I mean, we're talking terabytes and terabytes of drives. And this happened big time for us in COVID where we weren't really working outside. So it was like we have thousands, literally thousands of hours of footage that we will never do anything with. So that's when we looked into it, and that's when we said, okay, Adobe Stock, we can actually get our footage, prepare it, and then put it in Adobe Stock and then actually license that out and make money on the side. So that's another kind of side income that we have. Like even today, every other day I get an email saying, hey, you made X amount of dollars from selling Adobe Stock footage. And once I put it on Adobe Stock, it's there permanently. So it's been this really nice like side income that just comes in passively every other day where it's going to email, oh, we made $10. Oh, we made $100 this day. Like it's been really good. And it's just from footage we already shot that we've already done all the work on, and we're just essentially reusing it. And now other people can reuse it as well. So it's been a really awesome side income. Kind of as far as a bigger business strategy, not just relying on one source of income.